Good morning, welcome to Breakfast with Naga Munchetty and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. A team in Oxford says trials of its coronavirus vaccine have shown a promising immune response in people over the age of 60.
An extra £4 billion a year for the next 4 years. The government gives the UK military its biggest spending boost in 3 decades.
Good morning. The careers curbed before they've really begun. BBC research shows the number of apprentices being made redundant in England this year has jumped, and there are worries many more will follow.
Good morning. Wales join Europe's elite. Their victory over Finland means promotion to the top tier in the Nations League and could also lead to a playoff spot for the next World Club.
Good morning from Blenheim Palace, where we have an exclusive sneak preview of the illuminated light trail this morning. It's a cold start to the day wherever you are. We've got a northerly wind, a few showers, but we'll see sunshine develop as we go through the course of the morning, and the winds will ease. I'll have more details in 10 minutes.
Good morning. It's Thursday, the 19th of November. Our top story is that scientists working on the Oxford University coronavirus vaccine say the findings are encouraging. They've published the latest data this morning.
Results from phase 2 of the trial show the vaccine produces a strong immune response in both older and younger participants, raising hopes that it can protect the age groups most at risk from the virus. Our health correspondent, Naomi Grimley, has this report.
More encouraging news after weeks of upsetting headlines. Oxford University says its vaccine is well tolerated in older adults and, crucially, that it induces a robust immune response similar to that found in younger people. There are 3 stages to vaccine trials. These results come from the middle stage, phase 2. Researchers were studying 560 UK volunteers, 240 of whom were over the age of 70. But we're still waiting for Oxford's phase 3 results. That's the most comprehensive stage, which involved some 30,000 participants in the US, the UK, Brazil and South Africa. Oxford may be trailing the 2 other vaccine candidates, Pfizer and Moderna, which are now moving towards being approved by regulators. But still, great hopes are pinned on the team at the university's Jenner Institute. The Oxford vaccine is expected to be easier to manufacture on a worldwide scale than the other 2. And together with its pharmaceutical partner AstraZeneca, the university is committed to making hundreds of millions of doses available to the developing world. Naomi Grimley, BBC News.
The largest military investment in 30 years will be announced by the Prime Minister later today.
The defence budget will increase by £4 billion annually over the next 4 years and will be partly used to fund space and cyber defence projects.
Our political correspondent Layla Nathi is in Westminster for us this morning. Morning, Layla. So, lots of money here. What's the implication of that regarding perhaps savings elsewhere?
Morning to you, Naga. Well, yeah, we're still in that week, aren't we, where the Prime Minister wanted to move on from all the turmoil in Number 10 by setting out some big ideas. So we had that Green Jobs announcement yesterday, and now we've got more money for the military. Now, this will be seen as a win for the Ministry of Defence to get money promised over 4 years, because next week, remember, the Chancellor is going to set out his spending review across all government departments, and that will only cover the next year because of all the coronavirus uncertainty. So it will be seen as significant that the MOD is getting a longer term spending deal. Why is defence being prioritised? Well, the government says, look, the military needs money to adapt to new threats, and it will boost jobs, it will help create jobs and boost Britain's standing in the world. Now, I think people will see that clearly in the context of huge government spending on coronavirus, there will be difficult choices ahead for the Chancellor, given the hammering the economy has taken. But I think, you know, it's fair to say that because money is being spent on defence, it will not be forthcoming elsewhere.
Layla, thanks for taking us through all of that. Layla Nathi there for us.
The United States has become the first country in the world to record more than 250,000 deaths from coronavirus.
A growing number of states have announced new restrictions to try to limit the spread of the disease. Meanwhile, the UK recorded 529 deaths within 28 days of a positive result. That takes the death toll here to more than 53,000.
We can speak now to our North America correspondent, Peter Bowes. Morning to you, Peter. I mean, of course, all eyes have been on politics recently in America, haven't they? But one thing that isn't changing, if anything is getting worse, is the problems with coronavirus.
Yes, morning, Charlie. It is a vacuum in many senses politically in this country at the moment, with Joe Biden getting experts around him but not having access to the information that the Trump administration has about the coronavirus. And all the time, the number of cases are increasing quite steeply around the country, about 10% more today than this time last week in 47 states. And that grim milestone now of 250,000 people having died since the beginning of the pandemic. And yes, restrictions are being imposed again in major cities. There's densely populated places like New York and Boston and Detroit. The schools are being closed. Here in California, we're at the highest level of restrictions, really turning the clock back to the summer months when things were particularly bad in California. And next week, it's the Thanksgiving holiday in America, which is traditionally a time when Americans travel far and wide to be with their families to celebrate that day. The medical experts are saying quite bluntly now, cancel Thanksgiving this year.
Peter, thank you.
The Duke of Cambridge says a new investigation into how the BBC secured an interview with his mother in 1995 is a step in the right direction.
The corporation has promised to get to the truth about the events surrounding the Panorama interview with Princess Diana. Lord Dyson, one of the country's most senior retired judges, has been appointed to lead the inquiry.
7 minutes past 7 is the time. One more story to bring you. A doctor whose twins were delivered while she was in a coma with COVID-19 says she struggled to believe they were hers when she woke from the coma 2 weeks later.
Perpetual UK, who's a hospital consultant in Birmingham, is now recovering at home with her baby son, Pascal, and daughter, Palmer. You can see the pictures there. Really is a remarkable story. They were delivered by caesarean section at just 26 weeks old back in April. So she was in a coma and the babies were delivered and she woke up two weeks later and there they are. And all is well now. That's the important thing. It's a lovely picture of the family together.
There. Really good news. Congratulations.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.